I think it's delusional for anyone to think that the morally right thing to do, the Islamically correct thing to do, is any course of action or inaction that has the predictable and proven result of keeping Muslims weak, subjugated, and impoverished. I don't see any moral good in that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that we are the best ummah ever raised among mankind. We enjoin good and forbid evil. And I don't know of any Muslim community anywhere in the world that doesn't have members of that community who are enjoining good and who are forbidding evil. Every Muslim community in the world has its da'is, has its imams, has its khatibs, and just regular brothers and sisters who are constantly offering nasiha to one another. The condition of enjoining good and forbidding evil is met in every Muslim community in the world, both in the Muslim world and in non-Muslim countries, in the real world and in the virtual world. I mean, you can't look in the comment section on almost any video or any post on social media without finding some Muslim quoting an ayah or quoting a hadith or giving some kind of Islamic advice. We've got that covered, in my opinion. I think we've got that more than covered. As I've said repeatedly, I am not a da'i. I'm not an Islamic scholar. I'm not a preacher. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not worried about your akhirah. I know that may sound like a terrible thing to say, and it will shock the ears of some people. But your akhirah is your problem. It's not my problem. I'm not going to be asked your questions on Yawm al-Qiyamah, and I'm not going to be held accountable for your soul. I'm only going to be held accountable for my soul. There are plenty of people out here giving da'wah and teaching aqidah and so forth, and that's all commendable. But that's not me. I'm worried about your dunya. I'm worried about the dunya of the Muslims, and I'm interested in strategies that will improve the conditions for Muslims in this world. If I can help to make Muslims' lives in this dunya better, maybe it will be a source of betterment for me in my akhirah. So that's my primary focus. I have 3 priorities that I've talked about many times: Muslim economic sovereignty, Muslim political independence, and Muslim psychological decolonization. And I don't subscribe to the idea that Muslims will never achieve any of these things unless or until they become more pious or more righteous. I think that you cannot possibly have understood the gravity of La ilaha illallah if you believe that. More pious or more righteous than who? You can't tell me that the Muslims aren't more pious and more righteous than the people who are oppressing us. We don't have to become perfect before we deserve to not be subjugated. We already deserve not only to not be subjugated, we deserve to be free, we deserve to be independent, we deserve to be prosperous, and we deserve to have authority. And in order to achieve that, we have to have power. And achieving power in a world that's full of competing, ruthless, malicious, unjust, and immoral powers, that's going to require strategy. That's going to require tact. It's going to require patience and some degree of compromise and trade-offs. But I believe that we're in an historic moment with the pivot of the global economy to the global south and to the east, and the dismantling of the post-World War II global order. And as I've said, the owners and controllers of global financialized capital are not going to fight this pivot. They're expediting this pivot. They're facilitating this pivot. What they're going to fight is for control of managing the shift. They want to maintain the status quo. They want the neoliberal model to continue. And in my opinion, that's the challenge that we have to win. We have to commandeer this transition that's taking place and develop a new model, a model that's guided by our principles, by our deen. And no one can do this but us. Because look, we believe in trade. We believe in the free market. Muslims believe in private property, profit making, so on and so on. All of that's fine. But in an age when the private sector has disproportionate influence over the conditions in society, we also need to constrain business within the moral framework of Islam. Business, the private sector, companies, corporations, and so on, and the societal impact of business must not overstep or undermine or interfere with the maqasid of the Sharia, the objectives of the Sharia. Trade, investment, business, business operations, profit making, all of those things cannot be allowed to deteriorate the people's religion or exploit the people or deprive the people, ruin their livelihoods, drive them into debt, diminish their honor, destroy families, pillage their resources, increase the misery index of the population. Muslim political and economic power, in my opinion, would re-inject morality into the political and economic spheres. It would reconnect morality with the private sector, which the Enlightenment very deliberately divorced. One of the real motives behind the separation of church and state was precisely to liberate business and profiteering from any form of codified morality. And there's no one who can correct that catastrophic blunder other than the Muslims. So yes, I am transparently and unapologetically interested in the dunya of the Muslims. And in my opinion, working to help Muslim states and Muslim economies to gain power, consolidate power, stabilize power, this is essential to protecting, defending, and spreading Islam.